I thought breastfeeding was going to be like a fairy tale and that it was going to come naturally. And I was so wrong. I just knew the one thing that I would be good at was breastfeeding. And honey, it did not start out pretty. Hello, my name is Dericka. Welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to discuss with you my breastfeeding journey. It was not at all pretty. At first, it became pretty. I want my moms to know and understand that you are not alone. Now let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about is expectations versus reality. I thought that there was nothing that needed to be learned, that breastfeeding just came natural to mom and to baby. I was wrong, and I don't even know who fed me that information. I expected for my son to just know how to latch. I also expected for my milk to come in right away. Babies, because their stomachs are so small, they need to feed more frequently. I thought that physically breastfeeding wasn't something that would be time consuming. Again, I don't know where I got my information from. I didn't realize that I had to keep up with the demand and the needs of my baby in order to continue to produce enough milk. It's really nice. I would say it's really nice coming on here and sharing my experiences with you guys, because again, at the time that I was going through it, I promise you, I wasn't smiling. I'm able to laugh and smile about these things and call myself crazy because I was going through it. I understand that it's a lot of moms out there that goes through these same exact things that I experienced. When my son arrived, I expected for him to know how to just latch. He did not. He actually had a lip tie and a tongue tie. My baby was struggling. I took everything so personal in my postpartum journey. This is another one of those things that I took very personal. I felt like he preferred the bottle over my boob. And again, I took that personal. They say when you're trying to breastfeed, you shouldn't introduce the bottle so early, but my milk didn't come in right away. It took days for my milk to come in. I had to introduce the bottle soon. And after a while, I think that he kind of preferred the bottle because he was able to just suck the milk out of the bottle versus he had to wait for letdowns for my boob. So I think that I took that personal. I was so hard on him because he just couldn't properly latch. And I honestly feel bad about it looking back on it now. We were seeing the lactation consultant. I was watching videos. I tried different positions and it still didn't work. My son did not properly latch until he was about 3 months old. I discovered that my son had a tongue tie and a lip tie, which actually restricted him from being able to fully latch onto my breast. I had a C-section around 37 and a half weeks or so. And I think because of that C-section, my milk didn't come in right away. The hospital had donor milk, so he drank that donor milk until my milk came in. And I'm so grateful for the hospital for that. When my milk finally came in, my breast went from a double D to a triple D. Y'all, I needed ice packs. That feeling of engorgement was something that I did not fully prepare myself for. It's something that you hear about, but you don't know until you experience it. So when my milk first came in, my breast was so swollen. I was pretty obsessed with my breast milk. Don't let my husband spill it. Ooh. All broke loose. I was obsessed to the point where I counted his bottles. I needed to know if people was overfeeding my baby or feeding him more frequently than what I fed him. It's cringy looking back because I promise you next go, my baby can have all the milk they want. Cause why was I obsessing over it like that? I didn't allow my husband to help with handling of my breast milk at all, actually making my job even harder as a mother. You live and you learn. The next thing that I'm going to talk about is the hard, more difficult parts of breastfeeding. Having to realize that babies have to learn how to latch. Again, I took it personal. I did not realize that babies needed to be taught how to latch. Realizing that my son had a lip tie and a tongue tie. Now, I could have gotten the lip tie clipped, but I opted out and I took a break from trying to breastfeed because I saw how angry it was making me and how personal and frustrated that I would get. In breastfeeding, you already know when you're stressed out, it can affect your milk supply. So I needed to limit things that increased my stress levels, and nursing was one of those. I took a break from trying to latch him because of how much it was frustrating me. My nipples were so sensitive to pumping and nursing. So it's like your nipples have to get used to breastfeeding, and mine was not. It was very painful. Initially, it was, and it's because my son didn't have a proper latch. Now, once he did start nursing and he had a proper latch, I realized that it's actually not supposed to be painful. That's not normal. I had maybe 4 different pumps. I just kept buying pumps. It's like it became like a hobby. Let's just buy and try pumps. I remember buying a pump, my first time trying that pump out. Now, that's actually my favorite pump to date. But my first time trying that pump out, my nipples was bleeding. And then that's when I discovered that you can get like the little moisturizing spray, and I would spray my pump. Another hard part to breastfeeding is trying to time everything around breastfeeding. Having to account for that every 2 to 3 hours that you need to breastfeed or nurse, it was a lot. If I needed to go anywhere, I had to account for the timing that it took, the drive to and from. This was when I wasn't as mobile with my breast pumps. But initially, trying to time everything around feeds, that is a challenge all within itself. Going back to work, we need more time off for maternity leave. That was hard. So I can control my own maternity leave. As long as I had enough money saved, I could take off as much time as I wanted to. So every single month it was time for me to go back to work and sign a new contract. I kept opting. I'm like, nope, I need another month. Nope, I need another month. And that's only because I had the luxury to do that. A lot of people can't do that. We need more time for maternity leave. It was hard separating from my baby. So with the oxytocin or the hormones, it increases your milk supply and you actually can pump more or nurse more. So me being separated from my son, I was kind of nervous that that would drop my milk supply. I had a whole little system, y'all. I would pump on my way to work. I would pump on my way home from work. And then I would pump like 3 times at work. I did not have a dip in supply. Thank God. It felt like I was breastfeeding more frequently because I had this delay in my letdowns. So instead of me having, 2, 3 letdowns in the first 15 minutes, it was like closer to 30 minutes. So it took me around 30 minutes to breastfeed or to pump, which was time consuming. And it was actually very frustrating because I felt like I was always connected to a breast pump. Now, the solution to that was I found me a pump. It really mimicked the rhythm of a baby sucking. That breast pump, honey, I used to be emptied out in 15 minutes. That breast pump is my favorite pump to date. That would be the Baby Buddha. The Baby Buddha cleaned me out, and the Baby Buddha is portable. So I was able to pump anywhere. It went everywhere with me. It made my breastfeeding journey so much easier. All of the rest of the pumps that I use, it took 30 minutes to pump. Baby Buddha, got it out in 15 minutes. Another hard thing is that it's like a constant worry about supply. Like you always want to make sure you're keeping up with your hydration, your nutrition, eating enough calories, all of that. Breastfeeding is a job. It's a very rewarding job, and I love my kids so much, I would do it all over again. I want to do it with every single kid, God willing, if my body allows it. I watched a bunch of videos around that time where people were saying that you establish your supply within the first 1 to 2 weeks. During that time, I was over pumping. I was pumping more than what I probably should have to trick my body into thinking that I had twins so that I will overproduce milk. But you got to be real careful with that. You can develop, your breast can be engorged. You can develop mastitis because you're overproducing milk. You don't have twins. And to be honest with you, you don't need as much milk as you think that you do. So in the beginning of my breastfeeding journey, learning that, yes, I overdid it. I was trying to keep up with a demand that was actually above what my baby even needed. The next thing I want to talk about is what helped me and what I wish I knew. There was so much information that I received from the Lactation Consultants. Came to my hospital room, and also I was able to make like outpatient visits and appointments with them postpartum. They taught me proper positioning and taught me different tricks that I was able to use with my son. I wish I would have known that babies may learn to latch later, and don't give up with them. Like you really have to be patient with them throughout that process. No, they're not doing it to you on purpose. And you're probably not thinking that it might just be a me thing. But babies may learn to latch later. My son did not start to fully properly latch until around 3 months. Just because your baby isn't properly latching in the beginning doesn't mean that they'll never learn how to latch. Had I not reintroduced the boob to him after being on the bottle for months, I would have never known that he learned how to properly latch. You got to get him some time. That your milk might not come in right away. Mine's didn't. But once it finally came in, I was immediately producing enough milk for my baby. Keeping up with the supply and demand, and actually hydrating. I've said this in other videos about weight loss, but hydration and just drinking water are 2 very different things. A lot of people was telling me to drink electrolyte drinks, but then I learned that I like, I like natural things. So I was doing fruit, and then I was doing coconut water mixed with filter water, and then lime, like a fresh squeezed lime mixed with filter water, and a little bit of pink Himalayan salt for electrolytes and for minerals. You also need proper nutrition. Like, baby's gonna take what they need. So you really eating the proper nutrition for you. I feel like I have to mention this, and let me say this loud for the people in the back. You do not need a thick, big freezer stash of milk. I was obsessed with saving every single piece of milk that I could just so that I can build this long, large freezer stash. I would say probably a week is good enough. A lot of babies don't even like freezer milk. It changes the taste. I've tasted it. I've tasted my milk fresh, and I've tasted my frozen milk. And although my son drank the frozen milk, I wouldn't drink the frozen milk. It has like a metallic-y taste to it. And then when you're keeping up with your supply and demand, you're providing enough for your baby. All of the extra frozen milk, unless you plan to donate, because there's a lot of moms out here who are struggling just like I was. So if you're planning to donate breast milk, yes, I'm here for that. But if you're trying to create a stash for later for the baby might not even like the milk. I saw that they have like different things where you're able to turn your breast milk into powder. If you want to do that, that's pretty cool. But I just gave my son what was left over after I finally stopped pumping and nursing. I just know that whenever we decide to have another kid, I do not plan to put my body in overdrive trying to produce all of this milk just for a freezer stash. Your breast milk is coming on a consistent basis. It's coming constantly. So it just wasn't necessary. I produced enough milk for my baby. It wasn't necessary for me to overproduce just to have a stash for later. Producing a freezer stash became like a competition for me. I would see if I can outproduce the day before. And like, it just was not that deep. Okay, so the next thing that I'm gonna talk about is my closing reflections. I want to say this because I'm also talking to the younger version of me. Is that if you're a mom who is struggling to breastfeed, the most important thing is that your baby is growing beautifully. And at that time, I couldn't see that because, again, I think with the C-section and everything, I just wanted to go the natural route. So I overdid the breastfeeding. I think that deep down, I felt robbed of my natural birthing experience. So that's the reason why I took breastfeeding so serious. And another thing that I noticed while I was breastfeeding is that there's a whole breastfeeding versus formula feeding culture. Breastfeeding moms judging formula feeding moms. Formula feeding moms judging breastfeeding moms. Why do I care about how someone else is feeding their baby? As long as their baby is growing and their baby brain is developing, why should I care? It can be a very judgmental culture. So don't allow anyone else's judgments on how you should be feeding your baby put more pressure on you. Sometimes breast milk alone isn't enough. It's a lot of women who end up having to supplement with formula. They'll do breast and formula. Regardless if you're breastfeeding, formula feeding, use the whole mama. And I see you and I'm proud of you. We did I can't cuss on here. I want to know down in the comments, what was your biggest challenge breastfeeding? Did you have any issues with latching? As always, I have more content coming. See y'all soon. Hey, 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 hey.